The river had taken everything from Daniel Carter: his land, his cattle, his future. 3 years of drought had turned his ranch into dust, and the bank had come with papers that made his failure official. He loaded what little remained into a wagon and headed east, away from the territory, away from his shame, away from the one person he couldn't bear to face. Away from Beth. They'd grown up on neighboring ranches, her family's land touching his along the creek that fed into the river. She'd been his best friend at 8, his first kiss at 16, his promised wife at 20. He'd asked her to wait just one more year while he built something worthy of her, something that could provide the life she deserved. She'd smile with those green eyes that held all the patience in the world and said, "I'll keep a candle burning in the window until you come back for me." That was 4 years ago. Before the drought, before the desperate attempts to save dying cattle, before he borrowed money he couldn't repay, before he became the kind of man who ran instead of fought. Daniel had written her one letter, telling her to forget him, to find someone who wasn't broken. He'd never sent it. Cowardice had many faces, and his wore shame like a second skin. Before we continue, pause for just a moment and tell me in the comments, which country are you watching this from? I'd love to know where this story finds you tonight. Now, 3 years later, Daniel found himself at the river crossing, the same one he'd used to visit her family ranch every Sunday. He'd told himself he was just passing through, taking the eastern road to start over somewhere his name meant nothing. But his horse seemed to remember the path, and Daniel was too tired to fight it. As darkness fell and the crossing came into view, he saw it. A light, a single candle flickering in the window of the old ranch house across the water. His heart stopped. It couldn't be. 3 years without a word, 3 years of silence louder than any goodbye, and that candle was still burning. Daniel sat frozen on his horse, staring at that tiny flame dancing in the distance. Every logical thought screamed that it meant nothing, that someone else lived there now, that Beth had surely moved on. But something deeper, something that remembered the girl who promised to wait, pulled him forward. He crossed the river as the moon rose, water soaking his boots, his heart hammering against his ribs. The ranch looked different, smaller somehow, but that candle never wavered. As he approached, the door opened, and there she stood, Beth, older, thinner, her face showing the same hardship that marked his own. But those green eyes held the same light they always had. If you feel the weight of this moment, hit that like button right now. "You're late," she said softly, no anger in her voice, just fact. Daniel opened his mouth to explain, to apologize, to confess every failure, but she stepped forward and pressed her fingers to his lips. 3 years, Daniel. 3 years I've kept that candle burning. Some nights I curse you for making me wait. Some nights I curse myself for being foolish enough to believe. But I never blew it out. Why? The word broke from him. I lost everything. I'm nobody. I have nothing to give you. Beth took his face in her hands, and he saw tears reflecting the candlelight. You think I was waiting for a successful rancher, for someone who never failed. I was waiting for you, Daniel Carter, the boy who taught me to skip stones, the man who promised to come back. Success and failure are just weather. They pass. But you, stubborn and proud and broken and real, you're what I've been waiting for. He collapsed against her then, years of held breath releasing in sobs. She held him on that porch, the candle still burning behind them, and Daniel understood something he'd been too blind to see. He'd spent 3 years running from shame, when he should have been running toward the one person who'd never measured his worth by what he owned. They rebuilt together. Not his ranch, but hers, the one her father had left when fever took him. Daniel learned that Beth had faced her own droughts, her own losses, her own nights of doubt. But she kept that candle burning because some promises trans circumstance. Some love refuses to be rational. Years later, that candle still burned in the window, no longer waiting but welcoming. And Daniel never left again because he'd finally learned that home wasn't a place you built. It was a person who kept the light on when the world went dark. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that real love waits through the storms and welcomes us home despite our failures, then subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to know that redemption is always possible, that coming home is never too late. Hit that subscribe button, and let's keep these stories of enduring love and second chances alive together.